All right, guys, welcome to Graphic Novel Geeks. We're here for an episode of manga, so it's gonna be fun. Manga's been a huge part of my life.
Yeah, we're going to have a great episode today, talking about, one of the most popular genres of comic books in the world right now. So, and just talk about how it's influenced and changed our lives and how much we all love it.
Yeah. So who wants to start first with this?
Oh, I'd like to point out also that today, again, we have manga creator Chris Adams joining us to give us some of his insight and share his love of manga with us. So thanks for joining us, Chris.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me again. I appreciate it. It's fun.
Yeah.
I feel like we're gonna have some really neat, diverse picks here. I'm curious to see what people are gonna start bringing up.
Oh yeah.
I'll probably be the most darkest and depressing, but let's see what who's up. What we got.
All right.
Well, I don't know, Joe. So what how about you start then?
Yeah,
since you have such the darkness. Start us with the darkness, because apparently we need to have a darkness sandwich, because you can start off with something terrible and awful but great, and then we can go to something that lighthearted, and then maybe we can end by coming back to you with more terrible darkness.
Yeah, darkness.
Okay, so I'll start off light. I won't go full darkness, but so damn it. Okay. That's okay. Anyways, Parasite.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So Parasite is an 80s manga. They got an anime adaptation that was made in 2014, and they had to update a number of things because obviously certain references, wouldn't work as much because you went from the 80s to the 2010s, right? So, but the basic premise is that you have so it's a horror sci-fi series, and the basic premise is, you have these aliens, or as far as we know, are aliens. Don't want to spoil anything, but basically these aliens show up, kind of like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, kind of a scenario like that, where they kind of take over people, and that person is just gone. There's no hope of bringing them back. So that person gets taken over, and these aliens, obviously alter the body. So then that person's walking around, but they can also shapeshift and, make their arms into weapons, blades, that kind of thing. And most importantly of all, they feed on humans. So, that's kind of a problem. But yeah, so that's kind of the main gist. The protagonist, he ends up getting one of those parasites, goes into his hand, and is unable to actually take over the brain, because you need to take over the brain in order to clearly, assimilate the host. So it gets stuck in his hand. And so now it's a situation where that parasite doesn't mature the way it should have. And you basically have a scenario where the main character and the parasite have to work together to survive, because the parasite doesn't want to die, right? So now him and his host actually have to cooperate and work together, but other parasites can sense when one of their own is nearby, and they notice immediately, oh, the parasite, who goes by the name of Miggy, oh, you haven't taken over your host. Yeah, and then it kind of leads to, some confrontations. So now the main character, who is a high school student, is forced into all these messed up scenarios, and then has what I like to call one of the most epic moments of character development over Chris knows, at least in the anime. It's over a period of 3 episodes, where everything that could possibly go, that goes wrong. And he he has to mature and grow up. And I mean, even down to even changing his hairstyle and everything. He legit leaves town and comes back a different person. And but no, it's pretty cool. It has some cool themes about humanity, because again, you even have some parasites that are just very animalistic, some that are more intelligent than others. One in particular, again, no spoilers, they go through an amazing arc, in my opinion, where they actually start caring more and actually become more human. But there's also this individual did kind of create one of the most dangerous villains, I would argue, in all of anime history, during their moment of being a mad scientist. So still, it's terrifying, but yeah, it's pretty dope. They have a hardcover edition that's actually in color that they've been releasing as
Oh
well.
wow.
Which is kind of interesting to reread it like in color. But yeah,
The
so
whole
it's like,
thing's in color.
yeah.
Wow.
So it's very, obviously kind of like old school style.
Yeah, because it came out in
Um,
like the 80s, right?
yeah, yeah. And then obviously the anime is super updated. But yeah, it's pretty cool to see it in color.
Looks like
Yeah.
watercolor kind of.
Does it
And
does seeing it in color bring something new to it that you didn't feel was there with the black and white version when you read it?
maybe it would have
If
if
you
I
hadn't
hadn't
seen the
seen
anime?
right, exactly. So once you've seen the anime, it's like you've seen what it could look like in color, right?
Right.
With updated art style and everything. But it is cool that they are re-releasing this, and I don't think it takes away from the original story. I mean, it's still terrifying. Like some of the scenes still like, they still pay off and hit, but it's just kind of cool because yeah, I mean it's in color. So, you know.
Yeah, when one of the things about Parasite that kind of always stuck out to me is that it always reminded me a little bit of like Animorphs with the
Yeah.
Yerks and how the Yerks would come in and they would infect the host's brains and then they'd be walking around just like regular people, but they're actually aliens. But obviously the Yerks aren't as terrifying as the parasites because of the fact that the parasites literally can turn their humans into weapons as opposed to the Yerks, which are just using whatever weapons are a part of the host that they take over.
Yeah, no, exactly. Because Animorphs, there was still the possibility of saving someone and freeing them.
Yes.
Parasite, no, it's done. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, it's really good. It's about 8 volumes, manga wise, and the anime itself is 24 episodes, and it
Mhm.
does have an actual like ending where it concludes. So it's not like a situation where they didn't have enough material or either the studio made an executive decision to change things. No, it actually wraps up, and I was pretty satisfied with it. I mean, obviously, that's debatable, but so it's a complete story. The manga's out, and the anime is complete. I believe it's streaming on Hulu and Crunchyroll, I want to say.
Oh,
It
that's
used to be
cool.
on Netflix, but yeah, if you like your horror, sci-fi, body snatchers, and some cool imagery, check it out.
Who is the
Cool.
creator, the artist, writer?
Oh yeah, it is Hitoshi Iwaki. I am not sure what else he has done, but get his name right there.
Was-
Yeah.
So I've been hearing a lot about Parasite lately, like from my brother, who's only marginally into comics. He's more into cartoons and a lot of other friends. I think that they were saying like they're always talking about it in the same breath as like Death Note. I had thought that maybe is the same guy that does Death Note.
Oh, nah,
No, okay. Yeah, they
nah.
always seem to talk about them in the same paragraph at the least, though. They're like, oh yeah, Death Note and Parasite.
It's funny because the guy, so the artist writer team of the that do Death Note do very different stuff for like their other works, or at least their other famous works. Because the thing that they did Bakuman is like the manga about making manga, and the thing they did called Platinum End is, I guess that's probably the most similar to Death Note, but even then it's like it's about angels giving powers to humans and those humans using those powers to basically fight other humans that have those powers so that one of them can one day become God.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So yeah, but actually I think that's a good segue though, Joe, because you were talking about something that's kind of like horror but also like a little bit light like you said, and then we just mentioned Death Note. So the thing that I want to bring up is the manga Another. So this is one of my personal favorites. It is a horror manga, and the whole thing about this is that it is a story about a curse, and it's a curse that plagues a class. And in that class, and I think it's like every couple of years, but there will be a class that will have an extra seat in their class. And because of the fact that they have an extra seat, it means that the curse is active and they don't know who they have an extra student and they don't know who that extra student is. And what ends up happening is that random accidents will start to occur to every single member of the class or people close to the class, killing them until eventually they either are all dead or they're able to kill the person who is the extra student. But the thing is, though, the way the curse operates is that everyone will have a memory of this extra student always being there. They'll always have a memory of them in their lives. The extra student will appear in pictures. And so you actually don't know who this person is because everyone around you is somebody that the way this curse operates, you remember them. So but at the same time, everyone is aware that the curse is real. So everyone knows that there is a curse because people are dying and it happens all the time. And so they look back at like other classes that this happened to and trying to look at trying to figure out who the extra student was. But every time when an extra student dies, the memory of that person disappears. So you can't even remember who the extra student was after you actually killed them.
Oh, geez.
So it's absolutely crazy. This is the entire story of another. So it is bound into like this one giant book, and the art is like also kind of like horrific and graphic feeling, but it's very much based in reality as far as like the characters and stuff like that. But you can see like it's a very, nice art style, but it has like a lot of dark tones and imagery. There are some certain color pages that they have, but it's like in between chapters and stuff like that. And none of the deaths that happen in the comic are like super graphic, but it still like breeds like terror. So like, and you think about how the kids die is kind of like Final Destination. They have a lot of Final Destination deaths of like, the universe just being out to get them. So like, this is an example of a character that is like in an elevator and the elevator starts falling. Because it's also people, it's not just students that can be killed, it's people that are around the students. So family members of students can be killed. Anybody that is associated with the class that has the extra seat, if there's any connection, you can still die. And that's why some people try to leave Japan, but there was like beliefs that even leaving Japan doesn't help. But yeah, it just follows you. Yep. And then, and then even you getting on a plane, you can end up dying on the plane or killing others. So it's a very fun story because it's a mystery as well. So it's like, it's obviously it's a horror, but it also is about figuring out who this extra student is. So it's about, and how do you figure out somebody that's not supposed to be there if you have a memory of them always being there? So that's where kind of like the intrigue of going with the characters through these mysteries is interesting. And then there's a couple other mysteries in there. The two main characters, this is one of them, this is the female main character. And then the main male character is, I guess, is this guy that you see here. And yeah, they're basically just, there's different things about their histories. You have like stuff with their friends, and then you also have like the false flags of, oh, is the person that we think is the extra student actually the extra student? And then if you believe that's the extra student and you kill them and then nothing happens or nothing gets better, then you just killed a real person. So there's a lot of that in there, but absolutely great story. I would highly recommend, also because of the fact that you only have to buy this one book and then you can have the entire complete story for your consumption.
Yeah, sounds cool.
I like how you're like talking death. Oh, it's a fun story. It's like, okay.
It's fun figuring out how you can elude death. I mean, we all like Final Destination, right?
I've never seen Final Destination, actually.
Yeah, it's okay.
What was that? The second one that makes you uncomfortable driving behind like big rig trucks, like with like logs on them.
Exactly.
Like never again you'll drive behind a truck with like logs, because
there's
a Final Destination 2, that famous scene where they fall off on the highway and just kill. So.
Yeah, I mean, Final Destination 1 made it so that a whole generation of like young people were afraid to get on an airplane. So
okay.
But yeah, no, it's absolutely a great story, and And the fun, I think, is really in the mystery of it. I'm someone that likes mysteries and like Sherlock Holmes and stuff like that. So, and that's what a lot of horror is, even in like modern media and like movies and stuff. It is the mystery of what is happening, why is this happening, and how can we stop this from happening again.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean that's true. Like a lot of horror movies for a while were just like slasher flicks, right? Like go into for the shock value or whatever. There's like a lot of like cruelty horror too, like those Saw movies where it's just people being awful to each other. But like at its heart, really, a horror film is about the mystery and suspense, right? Like who is this and how do we solve it? You're absolutely right there, I think.
Yeah. Nice. I
Cool,
love it.
man.
The anime series, was it like a completely accurate adaptation, or did they like change things?
There were minor differences, but more or less, if you want to get the full story, you can watch the anime. And the anime is short too. The anime is 12 episodes. So within 12 episodes,
Wow.
you can be done. And then for those of you who don't want to like read a manga and you fancy yourself one of the more like upwards literary
Is it a
personalities, you can also get the novel.
I thought so.
So yeah, so it's, and novel is also great. And the best part about the novel is that at the back of the novel, they advertise the manga.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, if you can't tell, I absolutely love this series, which is why I have seen the anime, I've read the manga, and I am eventually going to be reading this.
Cool. Right on. All right. Well, for me, I don't really read too much manga, and it's not that I don't like it. I mean, I love like all thing comics. It's just I don't know, that's not really where I've been at lately. I've just kind of been more into the superhero stuff and a few, indies. But one thing that I absolutely love is Hayao Miyazaki, who everybody knows for My Neighbor Totoro, Spirited Away, and Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind.
Ooh,
And so for my birthday, I had gotten a book called Shuna's Journey. And I was like,
Oh, snap.
well,
Oh.
what's this? Some kind of new Miyazaki thing that I've never seen before, right? And I looked at it and I'm like, oh wow, this must be some kind of sequel to Nausicaa. However, it's not. This is actually some manga that he did before Nausicaa in 1983. And so is kind of a precursor to Nausicaa or even Princess Mononoke.
I was
they're
gonna say
saying
that because that art,
no.
like that image looked very Mononoke-esque.
Yeah. And so it's very, art wise, it looks very much, there's heavy influences by Mobius and maybe some of the, French bands dessinées. So this story here, published in Japan in June 1983, I believe that this book is the first time that it's been translated into English, and this just came out like last year. And they've never done a cartoon of it. And they say that actually it's not really a manga, that the Japanese would call it an imo nogatari, or an illustrated story. And what it is it's based upon a Tibetan folk tale. I guess in Tibet, I think it was barley is an important grain. That's like their staple crop to this day. And so they've got this legend about how it came to Tibet, because it originates over in like West Africa. And so they've adapted that story, that folk tale, into this story here. And so Shuna is, a young man in a village, and the village has, basically famine is hurting them. They can't really grow any crops. And they hear this story about these golden crops, but they can't plant them. They've gotten a few, but they can't plant them. They're not like fertile or whatever. And so there's a legend that if you go out to the west, these golden grains are like just everywhere. So he decides, okay, I'm going to get on my what is this thing called?
Nope.
Well, they've got a word for it. It's like yokel Yukul.
Oh.
So he gets on his elk-like animal and he starts traveling on off to the west to find these grains. And on the way, he comes across some slavers that have some young girls hostage. And so he feels, really awful for them and wants to help them, but doesn't really know what to do. And so just kind of, he makes an offer. Oh, I don't have much, but I'd like to free these ladies. And the guy's like, well, they're just troublemakers, give me your mount and we'll work the deal. And he's like, no, I can't do that. So he just kind of walks away, but it keeps bothering him, these young girls being slaves. And so eventually he comes back and frees them, and even is able to free all the others as well. He says, whoever wants your freedom, come along. But everybody else is just too scared. But the girls go with him, and they form this, good friendship, and they continue on westward. And then in kind of typical Miyazaki fashion, he's confronted with just like these moments of like awe and wonder. And he eventually, gets the grain and in theory will be bringing it back home. But the story kind of ends when he finds the grain and they don't, they don't really continue with his journey on home. And, the artwork is just these amazing scenes. I didn't mark any pages because you can open it up to literally any page and the art is amazing. And the colors are, it looks like this just like hand colored pencil. It's not like this overly digital bold thing. It's I really enjoy it. And and like I said, any page is just amazing. He's just got great characters with great emotion, great landscapes, great architecture. Everything is just, so I guess it's kind of, some of the style is influenced by like traditional Tibetan clothing and stuff, but there's just a lot of fantasy involved as well, where everything is fantastic. So he drops his gun for like an hour or something and it gets overgrown by plants, just because time is working very different in this world with the awe and wonder part, where there's like a UFO and these weird beings that are responsible for this god grain basically. So it just takes this story that a folk tale and it puts in this awe and wonder of just like, there's so much more out there that we don't understand, and there are so many fantastic things that are so much bigger than us. It's like, I'm just a small part of this mega universe. And Miyazaki does that a lot, right? Like it makes me think of like in Spirited Away, when they wake up and there's like the parade of the ghost lights, and it's just like, whoa, there's so much more going on in the world.
Right.
So right here are the slavers. They're coming after Shuna. So this was just amazing, and it was really cool to get a new classic Miyazaki, and I hope that someday soon that they turn this into a cartoon as well, because I'm a big fan of the Miyazaki cartoons.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. Like, that's cool. They should make it a movie.
Yeah, for real.
What was that? I guess it's like, first American like print. When did this come out? You said within a year, the last year?
Yeah. So it came out in Japan in 1983, and then this book here is gosh, I think it was 2022. Where do they put copyrights on Japanese manga? Is it in the front or the back?
Usually in the front, right?
I think
Sometimes it's either or. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So first American edition 2022.
Del Toro.
Daisy Ridley and Del Toro.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Del Toro is a fan, Guillermo Del Toro, and this is put out by First Second Press.
Okay.
So I think it's hardcover only still. They don't have a trade paperback of it. So I got this from Mission Comics. I went there on my birthday and I was like, oh, this is an awesome birthday present.
Oh, wait, so you grabbed that when
Oh,
when you came to my event?
yes, yeah, I grabbed this when I came to your event,
Oh,
Joe.
it was there. Oh, you didn't say anything, man. You didn't say, "Hey, Joe, it's this cool new Miyazaki book."
I don't know. I mean, I kind of yelled it out, I guess, just to my partner Danny. I was like, "Ah, Miyazaki!"
Nice.
Hey, Dylan, how you doing, man?
Good.
Cool.
Family emergency for a little bit this morning, but everyone's okay and fine. So,
All right. Okay. Glad to hear that. Yeah, we're just talking some manga, and yeah, we've got I don't know, Matt, why don't you show us what you got?
Yeah, I got a few, but I'm assuming you guys have other ones too. But this is Kamunagra. This is a Demon Slayer anime. I'm sorry, manga. I'm sorry, not related to the Demon Slayer. A different, not demons. Yeah, but it's been the English releases are out of print since 2000 and I think 10. So I was lucky to get this way back then. But it's pretty much about hunting demons, right? And this main character ends up being, well, he meets this girl that says that like she knows him and he doesn't know like she said that he lost his memories or something like that, right? And it deals with demons like he sees a dog, right? We see there's a dog right there following him, right? He's like, what's happening here, right? And then the dog, he thinks he wants food and stuff like that, but it ends up becoming gigantic mouth and there's teeth on his spine. Yeah, kind of very twisted. And he has a sword here. So he's actually a kendo champion, but has stopped doing it for the last 2 years at the start of the story. And during an attack, the attack with a dog, his kendo sword, he draws it. It turns into, let's see, there's the same dog again down there. And that's the swipe of his sword, the draw. His little E-idol there. And then he tries to strike it. And of course, the teeth on the dog on his head traps it, which, what dog has teeth on his head? It's obviously a demon. And then it turns into a sword. So it's actually really cool. You can see that there.
That looks like a messy dog right there, man.
A very messy dog. There's the sword through the flesh. It's like has a flame on it or something like that. You see that? To see there's a better shot of it. But the girl is his classmate, and she has this mirror or something that can like absorb the demon. See there, it kind of gets sucked into it right there.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, and it's this mirror or shield thing. Like that. So I think it's really interesting. I didn't have time to read all of it, but you get things like he sees a crow, right? And there's a crow with a bunch of blood, and then it killed somebody and one of his relatives, and the crow is holding the head.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, this is definitely for older readers. It's for 16 and up. It's recommended for anyways. Yeah. So if you like things like Gantz or Parasite, you might like this. It's kind of up that alley, you know. Let's see if I can get a better view of that sword.
Do you know how many volumes it has, or is it still ongoing? Or
It's finished in Japan, but there's like 6 that have released in America or in English, but they're out of print, so you gotta order them on eBay or something like that.
gotcha.
Oh man.
And I got this way back then, I think in Kinokuniya in Japantown, I think. But yeah, I love the art. I love the demon dog. I mean, come on now. All right, there's a sword right there. You see that sword?
Hmm.
It looks really cool. So what I like is that it pretty much turned into the Kendo sword became the sword, right? And then he can say a chant and then it or something and you can like make it disappear. You know, with anime magic. So yeah, I recommend it, but it's hard to find right. It's out of print. So but you know, I can always let you guys read it, this first one anyways. I plan to order all of it. And then probably the rest of it you have to probably read on Scanlations, you know, on the internet because then they stopped releasing it. So this is
Collector's item.
The what? A cursed item? Yeah.
Collector's item.
Oh, I think it says the cursed item because
Ah.
definitely a collector's item. Yeah. for definitely sure. Yeah. So I definitely recommend this. I think you guys might like it if you like, you know, Parasite or Gantz or stuff like that. I got other ones too, but I don't know if you guys have other stuff also.
The whole Kindle kind of like sword fighting demons reminds me of Demon City Shinjuku, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's like he was using like it didn't like turn into an actual sword, but he had like kind of like energy around it though, kind of like some psychic energy. So he was like fighting like supernatural stuff.
I got more. I want to see. I mean,
Yeah, well, how about maybe Dylan's got something to share
yeah,
with
actually,
us?
I don't have it with me, but I can talk about it because since I'm not at my house right now, I'm at my family's house.
Cool.
I
Yeah,
decided
let's
to
hear it.
talk about Junji Ito again because it's like he is the master storyteller, but I'm going to talk about his one real adaptation work because it's not really horror so much. He adapted a very famous Japanese book, which I've read the novel too, called No Longer Human, which is one of the most harrowing tales of mental illness in the Japanese society. Of like, it's very, very famous and a very, very hard to read book because it's the stuff that he deals with is horrible. Like, I don't know how much of Japanese culture like people know about, but mental illness, homelessness, all that, this is stuff that they sweep under the rug. Why they have a 0% homelessness rate, supposedly, which is a very scary sort of thing. They're not a very they're changing as a society a little bit with the younger ones, but it's like there's like I'm really terrible with Japanese names. Like there's a group of people like that just give up on like finding the job and all that and live at home with their parents and like
NHK?
you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
There's like it's a very, very scary culture to think about sometimes,
Yeah.
actually. Because it's like there's people that live in 24/7 like cafes.
Yeah, that too.
It's a very Johnny Mnemonic as a movie was not far off of Japanese culture for some of it, which is kind of a dystopian sort of thing. But it's if you ever want to read the saddest, most scary book you've ever read, I'll find my novel of it someday. I was like read that first, but the Junji Ito one came out in a couple like 20 something years ago on Viz, I think. I don't even know if it's in print anymore. It's like Junji Ito usually is. I mean, his stuff is like kind of kept in print because I think I can't think of like his stuff's out of print anymore, but
A lot of his stuff's still in print. I was just in LA last week, and I went to a bookstore, and they literally had a Junji Ito section of the bookstore where it was just a shelf of
bookstore?
Junji Ito stuff. I can't remember. I want to say it was like in the Little Tokyo area of LA, but I don't
I know
remember
what you're
what the name
talking
of the
about.
store
Yeah, over
is.
by the big concert hall thing there.
Yeah.
And all that. It's like
So,
it's not a big store, but it's like it's a dedicated store.
and
I
so
forget
that
the
was
name
kind
of
of
it
cool.
too.
And even
Yeah.
Kinokuniya out here in San Francisco, they still have a pretty like large Junji Ito like section as well. So no, you're 100% right. Like I don't know about some of the older stuff if it's in print or not, but they definitely do keep up with all new releases and like always dedicate a section to him. So you can definitely get some of his stuff, but not all, I guess. But because I know the title you're talking about, I never heard of, but I definitely want to check it out.
Hey,
Yeah,
so I'm a bit confused here. So who's Joji Ito? I like you guys are all talking about him, and I'm like,
he's
who's
a
this?
horror manga guy
Okay,
for the most part. He wrote his best original story to me is the one where it's a story called, I think it's called Holes. It's been a while since I've like read that book, but it's where these young people are convinced to go inside this mountain and basically walk through tiny holes until like just yeah. Everyone's pulling out their Junji.
Oh yeah, it just helps visually. But yeah. Oh, talk about mental illness. This one too. But yeah.
Yeah.
all right, cool.
It's
Thanks,
something
guys.
that it's like, I don't hide the fact that I have like a lot of mental illness problems and all that myself. It's like, so anything that like deals with that is like always a interesting thing to me. And the cultural aspect of it made it far more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Like-
kind
like-
of like the idea of it from a different take on what I'm used to reading from his stuff. Because I think his stuff usually has some type of human element attached to it. But
Yeah.
something that's like that focused on like mental health is something that I definitely would want to read.
Yeah. No, it's like, actually, let me take a look here. Let me see if it's actually still in print even through, say, Amazon.
If it's like one of the ones you have to like kind of like Matt like hunt down on like eBay.
Like
Yeah.
Kamunagra.
Right. I
Yeah,
like
no
that.
longer human hardcover, but Walmart has it for
Oh.
$26.99.
Wait, Walmart.
Walmart.
Walmart online has so much weird stuff like available.
Random.
They have Warhammer on Walmart. Like if you go online, it's not in the stores, but
Yeah, I was like, what? I've never seen manga in Walmart.
So like how are they dealing with like mental illness in this manga? I mean, are they just like normalizing it by talking about it, or are people like actually like working through it and able to deal with it at the end, or is it just like a depressing thing where at the end they kill themselves?
they don't kill themselves in the ending, but it's like they've tried to, and like
Mhm.
there's possibility from what I remember of the book. It's been like a decade since I read the book even. That it might have killed somebody himself, like just like dealing with it, and like basically he loses everybody
Mhm.
and is left alone. He's like telling this autobiographical tale to like one person who will listen. It's been a good long while, but it's like, yeah, it's like the Japanese basically do not admit that mental illness exists.
Yeah.
There's no services set up to help people in that country
Hmm.
for mental illness or homelessness or basically joblessness for that matter. It's I'd have to dig it up, but I'll send you a video about the Japanese cultural divide on that and like their homelessness population and all that. It's like there's a prideful sort of like
I'd say it's definitely that.
thing to that nation that's like they refuse to admit that there's problems.
Japan has always been that way. Always been prideful.
Yeah.
Too prideful.
Definitely problems.
Yeah. It's like
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
there's a reason why the two locations in the world that have like, I guess like the highest, I guess, self-deletion rates. What
Yeah.
it's like the locations, it's the Golden Gate Bridge and it's Aokigahara, this, the suicide forest, right?
Yeah.
in Japan. So there's a reason for that, right? Like those are the two locations with the
If there's a
highest.
haunted place on Earth, that forest
Yeah,
is definitely it.
there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
But
Uh,
it's
yeah, I mean, it's not like just Japan that, I mean, hearing that they don't admit it or stuff, but I mean, we've got those same problems here that aren't being
Mhm.
dealt with that well. They do have that new suicide hotline 988, so that's cool. But, I mean, we've been sweeping it under the rug as well, ignoring the homeless population, seems like probably
that's the thing
starting
though,
with
like we
Reagan.
have services in place like in the major
Yeah.
at least in the major cities to deal with it, because I've taken advantage of those services in the past. It's like it's the reason I'm still alive and actually gotten my life together.
Yeah, that's great. It's great. It seems though like we can still do more. We could still do, I mean, we're such a
Yeah.
rich country, such a rich
Yeah.
culture, and then
Everybody
there's people that
we
are
can always
homeless. I
do
mean,
more. It's like
yeah,
the fact is that we do maybe 100 times more already than like most other
yeah,
countries on earth outside of Sweden and Norway and stuff like that, like which have like the best services for everything. Like the most depressing, cold places on earth have the best services for like people's happiness.
yeah, cool.
So, but it's a great book. It's like
What was the title again?
No Longer Human,
That's right. Okay, look that up.
which is another point of from the Japanese culture, real point about that. But it is available, so it's like Viz Media still keeps it in print. So,
Cool. Yeah, it sounds like it really makes you think about things, huh?
it's a story that'll make you cry more than like gasp in fear and all that, unlike most Ito works. But it's like it definitely makes you ask better questions than like a lot of his other stuff too.
Cool.
You know,
Okay.
it's like normally with his books you have people's heads as balloons on strings like for no reason and all that, like, and it's never explained. This one is more of a, I think, personal work to him, since it's the only adaptation I know that he did. Unless I'm missing one. I haven't read it 100% of his work. I've only read about maybe half of it, but I've read most of the good ones.
Mm. That's cool.
Nice.
So
Cool. Well, hey, thanks for sharing that, Dylan.
yeah.
Appreciate how it means to what it all means to you personally.
I was gonna talk Appleseed, but then I decided, you know
But
what?
Yeah. Well, let's go on through for a round two. Joe, you started. You got another one you want to bring up real quick here? We got a few minutes left for everybody to do a little
Yeah.
quick
Right.
overview.
It was one of the ones that fell off. I had like a stack over here, and like at the beginning of the podcast, they like fell over. I was like, ah. But anyways, but
Too much manga.
yeah, right. Too
They
much.
ran away from the mention of Ito.
But I have to mention this. Well, just so it doesn't seem like I'm completely a dark person here, I do. We've mentioned it before, like, Ranma is in my top three. We've kind of talked about that, so I wasn't going to go into detail. But I like Rumiko Takahashi, most of her works. I think Meizan Ikoku, it's up on the shelf here somewhere. It's probably one of the best romance stories ever that takes place over like 7 years, and characters actually grow and mature and all of that. But I also like Nana as well. And this is by Ai Yazawa. This manga is like very unique in the sense that the characters, they're not high school, they're not like, well, I guess technically, well, I don't count like college age 18, 19 as teenagers anymore. Like
No.
you're kind of like in the world. So you have characters who are like, they're like, well, a couple are like in art school, but it's like a lot of just like adult problems. So it's stuff like you can relate to being like in your 20s, basically, figuring out, finding a job, just dealing with maybe not great like relationships, and then spending a lot of time with friends. And music is a big part of this book because there's two bands that are like really integral to the plot. Like you have the main one that the main character is a part of. So there's two there's two girls in here named Nana who have the same first name, but one is Nana Ozaki and the other is Nana Komatsu. Ozaki, she's the rocker kind of punk chick, and so her band is called Blackstones, but they call it Blast for short. But then there's so she's trying to make it, but there's a big band that's super popular called Trapness, and her ex-boyfriend is the bassist for that band. So he kind of made it, I guess, big, but it's this kind of thing of where she wants to make it herself, doesn't want to use any connections obviously to him, but wants to prove and be okay, yeah, we were together, everything was great, but I want to make it myself. And then she's living with the other Nana, who's just a complete airhead and just makes the worst decisions ever. It's very frustrating. But no, it's a good story because I feel like the characters are pretty real. It's a realistic look at being in your 20s, I feel, which a lot of mangas, at least that I have read, haven't really addressed that. And plus it's dope because you have bands and you have rock shows all through the book. But no, it's pretty good. The creator Ayazawa, I believe she went to fashion school, so all the character designs and everything, the outfits are just detailed and just ridiculous. She has another manga too called Paradise Kiss, which really is about fashion school. But oh yeah, this is a cool one. So yeah, so it's kind of her art style right there.
Ooh, that is nice.
So
the base is like Sid Vicious kind of.
Probably.
When did this come out?
I want to say early 2000s. It's been on
because the lead singer looks just like the Dazzler redo they did in the Ultimate X-Men, and I'm trying to think which came first.
So this was early 2000s. I mean, it's on hiatus, but when she first started, yeah, now I'm looking for the copyright, right? I don't see it. I actually legit don't see it. Huh. Well, anyways, it's early 2000s, I know. And because I know 2006, I want to say, oh, there it is. The anime was pretty popular. Oh, so 1999 was when it first started.
I'm wondering if they stole the Dazzler redesign for Ultimate X-Men from that.
It's possible.
I don't know. I mean, if the bassist is Sid Vicious, then is that gal maybe just some kind of Susie Sue Blondie love child or something?
It's hard to say.
Yeah, it's totally Sid Vicious.
Yeah.
So that's actually Ren. So that's her ex, who's part of the big band and whatnot. But yeah, no, it's a lot of coming of age stuff. And like I said, it's just a really good look at just being in your 20s and just trying to figure stuff out. And characters acting like actual people, meaning they don't always make the best decisions and can be selfish and at times very childish. But it's a good read. Like I said, it's on hiatus, so the manga actually hasn't finished. But there is an anime series too that I don't know if the ending is super satisfactory, but I mean it's still pretty good. It's 50 episodes, and so but yeah, no, I dig this a lot.
Cool, sounds cool. Yeah.
Right on. Sounds like a good one.
Yeah.
All right, Chris, you got something else for us?
Yeah. So just run through this real quick. So this is one I have to at least bring up. This is All You Need Is Kill. So this was made into an American movie with Tom Cruise, but with a different name, and it did not associate itself with the manga, but it is absolutely a live action version of this manga, and that is, it got changed. It was originally called Edge of Tomorrow. The name got changed to Live, Die, Repeat, but absolutely, this is a manga that's also based off of a novel. The artist for this book is Takeshi Obata, who's the same artist that did Death Note. And just real quick, has some really awesome artwork, and there's mech battles and aliens and stuff like that. So I just wanted to give this a mention because it's a really cool story. Even the cover, it has two main characters. So on the front, you see the main character, and then on the back, you see the other main character, and their stories kind of meet in the middle of the book. So I just want to give that a quick mention because it just feels it's a complete story. So you can finish that. But what I actually want to talk about is this Siren. And Siren is a manga that is one of like the shonen type stories, but it is also completed. This is volume 1 of it. And it is a story that I knew that Joe would like when I met him. And after getting to know him, because both me and Joe love psychics, one of our favorite X-Men is Jean Grey. And this is a story about psychics. And when you first start it, it makes it feel like the story is one that is like almost kind of a death game, like kind of like Gantz or Beatum or any of those type of things, where you have these characters and they answer this phone call that from this card that they get, and they get transported to another world. And when they get transported to that world, they have to basically fight to survive. So it's almost kind of similar like how Gantz is, where everybody gets into this new world, they don't know what's going on, then all of a sudden things are trying to kill them, and they have to achieve objective before they get sent back in the past. That is how it starts. That is not actually what the story is about. And as you keep reading it, you find out that what you think this story is absolutely a red herring. And what the story becomes is so much more. And I cannot say it without spoiling the point of the story. So that is all I can really say. I just need to let you know that it feels like it's a story that is a death game, where when you go to this other world, you have to survive, but it is something else entirely. And that swerve that the story has is what makes this one of the best shonen stories I have ever read in my life. And this is my personal favorite manga series, like separate from anime. My favorite manga series is this.
Wow, that sounds like very high praise.
Yeah, sounds like a good read. I'll look into it too.
Absolutely
Cool.
recommend.
Nice, nice. Yeah, so I've got this great 2-volume Nausicaa set that collects the entire series, which is, Miyazaki's opus manga. And it's been a while, but it's a story about there's like these creatures attacking society, but it's not because they're bad, it's because they've been corrupted, because the environment's been polluted. So it's very much a message about the environment and pollution. And it can grab basically any page and just see the amazing Miyazaki artwork.
Yeah.
I mean, we all watch his cartoons and we're like, man, these cartoons are the best. But when you don't see his manga, you don't know just really how amazing of an artist he is. I mean, it's just, the artwork blows me away. And that's what initially drew me to Miyazaki, was when Viz was putting out these Nausicaa comics in individual comic form. The art was just so great. I was like, I got to get all of these. I was really big Mobius fan at the time, and just saw how Miyazaki draws inspiration from Mobius. But I was never, in the days before eBay, comic collecting was a lot more difficult. And I was never able to get like all the issues because I got into it kind of late instead of as they were coming out. So having them all collected together is super awesome.
Did
And
Mobius have anything to do with that at all originally? That's my confusion with that one.
yes and no. No, in that he had nothing to do with it, except in the Viz, when Viz started putting them out in the US with issue number 1, he did this. Mobius drew this great picture that they turned into like a 2 or 3 page fold out in color that Mobius did as like a wow, this guy Miyazaki is super awesome. So yes. And anybody not familiar with Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind should at the very least check out the movie, if not trying to find the comics and check those out as well.
Well, it's playing in the theaters, guys, in about another couple of weeks, I believe. I think me and Lorraine were planning on going, but it's like, I know the Daily City's showing.
Yeah, they're
Gonna be
doing
there at the Daily City Cinema.
Miyazaki movies again.
Yeah, they're doing it every year, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have been doing that every year. All right, cool. We'll need to plan and get together to go see Nausicaa in the theaters.
Got
That'd be cool.
Kiki's Delivery Service, one of the best. Like
Mhm.
my
They're-
favorite of his films, just because it's the
Mononoke.
most heartwarming.
Mononoke.
They're all good. We were
Yes,
having
they
a
are.
conversation at a barbecue, and out of one person was like, the only one I've ever seen is Princess Mononoke, and we're like, you have not seen enough Miyazaki.
No.
The other three of us, Spirited Away was the one that came across with all three of us, I think.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen Kiki's Delivery Service, it's like I hate to say it, but it makes me squeak with joy every time I see it.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's a good one. They're like all good ones.
Oh, so I got I got more, but I can show you one more because
Yeah, what you got, Matt?
Flame of Recca. This is
Alright.
a manga that the one person said is kind of like Yu Yu Hakusho, and it's kind of feel a little bit, it's a little different, right? And it's a ninja manga. Okay, the main character Recca, he's pretty much like an anime fan of ninjas. You know what I mean? You guys, Joe and Chris know what I mean for definite sure. You know, they're like Naruto and stuff like that. This guy's that. So he calls himself a ninja. So he has smoke bombs and he throws them and stuff like that. His family makes fireworks. So those are his smoke bombs, right? He's like, let's fight fair. He pulls out a smoke bomb. He throws a bunch of smoke bombs at his rival and it blows up in his face. Talks about being a ninja, and he's like, if you defeat me, I'll be your personal ninja. Well, yeah, he's obviously a ninja geek. I mean, let's see, where he actually says that here. He in the beginning he says that, but what kind of kicks off his whole, I guess, the story is he meets a girl like every other anime. Her name is Yanagi Sakoshita, right there. And she pretty much has this ability to heal people, heal wounds. And upon seeing that, he devotes his whole pretty much being to being her ninja. Right? He's like, a ninja must respect his master absolutely, and you're the one who deserves my absolute respect. From this day forward, I'll be your personal ninja, your shinobi.
Yes.
But Flame of Recca, so he kind of has the ability to create fire. So like sparks, right? And in the story, well, there's him creating fire. You see that right there. He gets this bracelet that allows him to more controlled wield fire. And he later on in the story, he is able to summon these like fire beams. It's actually really cool. And like other stories, other shonen, there's other people that get abilities too. Like his rival, was one of those bumbling idiots dudes, right? It's one of those things where he's kind of like the sort of like a bully, but you know, like they fight, he gets respect for the main character, sort of thing. But he's kind of a doofus, you know, kind of like Korbara.
Yeah, basically.
Is this more of a comedy in its own way, or is it more of like straight
It's kind
action?
of a comedy, but it does pan out to a story
Yeah,
that
that's cool,
has some
actually.
seriousness.
I like what they do with the fire, like how like he has different fire-based abilities based on each of the like the dragons.
Yeah,
That's
and that's later in the story, but they actually have their own individual personalities too.
Yeah, that was
Dragons.
cool.
There's also a girl named, what's her name again? I think it's Fuko.
Yeah, it was Fuko. Yeah.
Fuko is this girl here. She can wield the wind
Mhm.
through another artifact right there. So she gets that and can wield the wind. And there's another guy who has a sword that can control water. and they pretty much, there's a martial art tournament and stuff like that. And it's actually really cool. I like it. It's a fun story. Reka's last name is Hanabishi, and Hanabi means firework. So if you take the two words, it probably don't mean this. Okay, it says Hanabi is firework, she is death. So firework, death, ninja that uses fireworks, ninja, assassin. Of course, he's not an assassin; he's a ninja geek. That is actually a ninja. So he, I think his family has history of ninja, like maybe the Koga ninja. But it's funny. I have the 25th volume, but and the 24th volume, and a few of the first ones, but the middle ones I can't find them anywhere. So either A, I read it online and then bought the other one later, or B, I read it all in a bookstore and bought, which I have done. Like we were not Borders. I sat there and I read like an entire 13 volume thing one time. I probably did that with this, but I'd recommend it. It's great. I have the anime DVDs from way back then, but it's really fun story. So I think you guys might like it. If you like Yu Hakusho, you like this. You know, we see how it's similar. Oh yeah.
Oh, that actually sounds like a fun series.
Yeah, it does.
It's very fun. It's very fun. It's very fun. So,
all right, cool. Yeah. Well, hey, you got anything else for us, Dylan?
Yeah, I'll go with one last one since in that way. It's like it reminded me of my other series. It's like one of my favorite mangas and anime of all time is Gunsmith Cats, which has not been made in years, but it is along that lines of action comedy, and it's about the bounty hunter Irene Raleigh Vincent, I think was her name, but it's it is by far one of the funniest things I remember reading from Japanese manga, and the bit that I have, it was influential to 18-year-old me, like showing its age at this point from like I think it was like the late 80s and early 90s when it first came out originally. And I don't even know if it's still in print. It's like I know that the
Kenichi Sonoda, wasn't it?
What's that?
The creator was like Kenichi Sonoda?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Because he did Bubblegum Crisis designs, but that's the only reason I know Gunsmith Cats.
Yeah, because I think those two are always related together for some reason. And they also had a I think the anime is all available on YouTube because there wasn't much. Like 3 short movies and one spin-off movie called the Legends of Writing Bean or something like that. God, I can't even remember what it's called. But it's so funny about a 19-year-old bounty hunter, female bounty hunter, is basically like in the manga at least, with her female partner and like their exploits with the cops and like all the enemies that they make. And it's just like what makes it good is just the humor of it. It's like their embarrassment, it's like they're not treated very well by the author in a lot of ways. It's like just constantly embarrassed and like made fun of and put down by their friends and the police and all that. It's like the only good thing about it is they always win somehow. Like nobody believes in them, but it's like they manage to pull it off time after time after time
against all odds.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
It's like, I mean, if you haven't seen the anime at least, I'd say just go on YouTube and like watch it. It's like maybe half of an afternoon, if that, out of your life, and it's like, oh, okay, I see what it's coming from with this one. It's a very like it deserves to be remade into a good American film, like with a budget to match and all that, which would be great. But it's like, I don't know if it'd make its money back, unfortunately. But it's like, I mean, you could probably do a movie for what? You're a filmmaker, Joe. What do you think? You could probably do it for like $5 million. Like,
I don't know. That series has a lot of action in it, right? You probably need.
Yeah, but it's like the thing is, you don't hire stars. Stars are a big part of that budget and all that.
Well, CGI is a big part of the budget too, but maybe with the new AI stuff, maybe you can go cheap on
You don't need
CGI
it.
and have your AI bot do it all.
No,
don't need
no AI. Just, no.
Chris, second unit director, man. Like action sequences, explosions.
Oh yeah. Oh no. I think it'd still be pretty expensive. And if you are going to try to save money using actors that are unknown, then there's a good chance your movie's not going to even get made or even sold, because
True.
that's the only reason the movie gets made in the first place.
Oh,
But
no, actually,
maybe
or
as
you
a
could do it as
series.
a live action series.
I was going to say, but if you do a series, that's a little bit more open to the risk, and you can use like unknown quantities, and you could make it for a slightly cheaper budget. But as a movie, it wouldn't even get made without actors that can sell it.
And it's like those episodes that they did, I think they were 45 minutes each and all that. You could stretch that into like half a season. I've seen like, because it's like they just like the anime, especially like was very quick. So it's like, I mean, there's a lot of story that was left on the floor. Watching True Detective season 1 again, it's like the slow burn is always interesting.
And doesn't the story take place in like Chicago or something too? So so no, 100%. Like in terms of like making a movie here, it wouldn't be maybe as much criticism about casting because it did take place in the U.S. right?
Yeah. And you could film in Canada for the most part because
that too.
You just need some establishing Chicago shots, and then the rest is just like the same Toronto streets you see everywhere.
Yeah, was it
Right,
Captain America filmed in I think Canada, but they called it New York or New England?
That's
probably
every show. All of the DC TV series and all that were filmed in Canada. So Oliver Queen was running around Toronto and like another part of Canada for like all of Arrow. Keystone City is Canada.
Keystone City is Canada?
Yeah, The Flash was filmed entirely in Canada.
Oh, they're talking about the TV series. The comic book. I was like, no, that's like Kansas City in the comic book.
Yeah, Canada is doing so many like tax incentives and stuff to get people to film there, and they also have these things like it can't be broadcast in Canada unless part of it was filmed in Canada or something like that. Really? So they've got some strange restrictions. But anyways, all the companies are shooting in Canada.
Like, for this side of the country, it's like things are filmed in Canada and Atlanta.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Australia has a bunch of tax and Australia and New Zealand also have like a lot of those tax breaks.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey guys, we should maybe get this wrapped up. Hey, I'd like to point out that we've got a website up, kind of. If you go over to my website, goblinscomics.com, that's GOBLYNS comics.com. We've got the Graphic Novel Geeks logo there, created by Tatsuo. Looks awesome. Click on that logo. It takes up to a page we put together that'll keep you informed of all the Graphic Novel Geeks going on. So we got a link to our Twitch stream podcast and a schedule of upcoming episodes. We've got links to our Facebook group where you can go and join the discussion, talk about your favorite comics. You can link to our Instagram where you can follow us, get updates on the upcoming episodes, as well as see pictures of like cool comics that we're reading. And then of course a link to our YouTube, which has our archive of all the past episodes. And it also has links to the creators' comics that we have interviewed. Tales of the Moonlight Cutter, Hellfire, Death of Darkness, and upcoming ones, El Muerto and Tinseltown. As well as Tattoo Class once that becomes available, and any future people that we interview, we'll be linking it up there so that way you can check out their comics. As far as schedule, we do this every other week, but we've got a special episode next weekend because we are interviewing Javier Hernandez with his awesome comic El Muerto. And then we'll be back on the 14th regularly scheduled episode where we're interviewing David Lucarelli with his comic Tinseltown, Volume 2, Losing the Light. He's got a Kickstarter that's starting up in May. So we're going to talk to him about that book. And that's kind of what we've got going on here. So, check us out on social media, follow us, like us, all those great things. We'd appreciate the support, and tell your friends.
Yeah, tell all your
Definitely.
friends. We love to talk comics and want to hear your thoughts too, right, guys?
We sure do.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, shoot us an email, shoot us a message, post a comment, let us know all your favorites or what you want to, hear about, what you want to talk about. We'd love to have you a part of our conversation.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us, viewers. It was fun talk about manga. I love doing that stuff.
Mhm.
And we'll see you guys next time. Yeah.
Yeah, and thanks, Chris. Thanks for joining us again. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris.
Always. Thanks for having me again. It was fun.
All right, sure. Bye bye.
See you next time, guys. Let me turn off the live. And then